Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something really special. We're going to bring two completely different but deeply fascinating stories to life, and we're going to do it largely through the characters' own words. After that, we'll put on our analyst hats to solve the mysteries hidden within the chapters. We'll be reading closely into the text, looking at the exact dialogues, and answering the core questions these stories pose. So, get ready for some fun deductions. Okay, let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. 1. Grandpa's Secret Adventure. 2. Unpacking vitamin M questions. 3. Panic of the Lost Child. And 4. Analyzing the Lost Child. We're essentially splitting our time today between a hilarious, lighthearted class of generations in our first story and a primal, deeply emotional tale about the parent-child bond in our second. Section 1, Grandpa's Secret Adventure. Let's kick things off with our first story, Vitamin M. Here, we're looking at a family dynamic that, let's be honest, a lot of us might find a little too familiar, where the lines between who is the caretaker and who is the dependent get just a little bit blurry. So meet Grandpa and his young grandson, Ravi. Now, Grandpa is a sharp, 75-year-old former lawyer who recently moved into a cramped city flat with his daughter, Vidya, and Ravi. And poor Ravi, well, he's about to get caught right in the middle of a pretty intense family feud over independence. The whole conflict really starts with Ravi's mother. The text shows her rushing around, sorting out these green, red, and orange tablets on a saucer, and she's speaking in this incredibly loud, almost condescending tone, literally as if she's talking to a baby who can't hear or understand her. She tells Ravi, "I wish that somebody would invent a memory, vitamin M. We could give it to old people to help them improve their memories." She genuinely believes her completely capable father is losing his mind, and so she's strictly forbidden him from going out alone. But Grandpa? Oh, he is not having it. Just contrast her tone with his firm, sharp response. Channeling the natural authority of his years as a lawyer, he fires back, "I've been looking after myself for the better part of my 75 years. First, you forced me to come and live with you in this poky little flat, in this horrible crowded city, and then you think you have the right to forbid me to go out on my own?" It's just a brilliant clash. He is fiercely defending his 75 years of self-reliance against his daughter's overbearing rules. This puts young Ravi in a really awkward position. Ravi actually winces at his mother's overly loud treatment of Grandpa. But as soon as she leaves for work, Grandpa inevitably sneaks out. Ravi, terrified of his mother's fury and genuinely wanting to keep his grandfather safe, decides he has to secretly tail him. He's basically trying to play detective, making sure Grandpa stays out of harm's way without actually getting caught. What follows is this absolutely hilarious chase sequence where Grandpa proceeds to break literally every single one of his daughter's dietary rules. Stop 1, he knocks back a sugary cup of tea, strictly forbidden at home. Next, he casually eats 2 whole bananas, also banned. Then, he goes right for an ice cream from a street cart. Ravi notes his mother would actually faint if she saw this. And while all this is happening, Ravi is proving to be a terrible spy. He's hiding behind big banyan trees, getting yelled at by street vendors. Then he ducks into a shop to keep an eye on Grandpa at the barber, only to get chased out by a volley of shrieks because, whoops, he accidentally hid in a ladies' hairdressing salon. Finally, Grandpa hops on a bus and Ravi just completely loses him. Section 2. Unpacking vitamin M questions. After losing Grandpa, Ravi goes into full panic mode. He runs home, sick with worry, only to find Grandpa safely snoring away in his bedroom, smelling of eucalyptus ointment and shaving cream. Ravi's so relieved he gives him a massive hug. But now, we've got to transition from storytellers into analysts to answer the text's big questions about what really went down. Here is our first major comprehension question, straight from the text. Was Grandfather actually aware that Ravi was following him? It's a great little mystery, so let's try to solve it using the textual evidence provided at the end of the story. Let's look at the evidence. First off, Grandpa coolly mentions the very next morning that Ravi disappeared instead of staying at home to look after me. But look at the deduction we can make from his gift. Grandpa gives Ravi a detective storybook for his birthday. This is just a wonderfully cheeky nod to Ravi's terrible spy skills the day before. Grandpa totally knew Ravi was creeping behind bushes and dodging into ladies' salons the entire time. Which brings us to the next critical question. Is Grandpa actually a person with a failing memory? Let's look at the evidence to completely disprove Ravi's mother's initial biased claim that he needs this imaginary vitamin M. The crucial point here is that Grandpa's memory is perfectly intact. The text points out he remembers thousands of complex chess games. Furthermore, he remembers to give gifts to everyone else on his own birthday, a tradition he upholds flawlessly. In fact, it turns out it's Robbie's mother who forgot she had circled his birthday on the calendar. Grandpa triumphantly turns to his son-in-law and quips, "My daughter needs some vitamin M, I think, for her memory." He just resented being treated like a helpless prisoner. His mind is clearly as sharp as a tack. Section 3, Panic of the Lost Child. Let's shift gears to our second story and see how it builds a pretty stark contrast. We're looking at the lost child, observing how a very different type of generational bond is portrayed during a vibrant, chaotic spring festival. The author paints this beautiful picture of a little boy just brimming with life, completely fascinated by the fair. But he keeps lagging behind. We repeatedly hear this rhythmic dialogue. "Come, child, come," his parents call out. You see, the child is easily distracted by everything. Toys, little insects teeming out of hiding places, the cooing of doves, even a shower of raining flower petals. He wants it all, but he knows the old, cold stare of refusal in his parents' eyes. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact moment the emotional climax hits. Look at this comparison. Before getting lost, the child boldly requests, "I want to go on the roundabout, please, Father, Mother." But there's no reply. He turns around. They're gone. A deep cry rises in his dry throat, and his dialogue shifts entirely to a panic-stricken wail. "I want my mother. I want my father." The shift from innocent wonder to sheer, paralyzing panic is sudden, and honestly, it's heartbreaking. Thankfully, a kind man in the crowd rescues the trampled child and tries his best to soothe him. The stranger literally retraces the child's steps, offering him all the beautiful, exciting things he had desperately wanted just moments before. He offers a ride on the wooden horse, he points out the snake charmer's nice music, offers a rainbow-colored balloon, and even a garland of sweet-smelling flowers. But to every single offer, the child just turns his eyes away. He shuts his ears with his fingers. He just sobs in this double-pitched strain, repeating over and over, "I want my mother, I want my father." We really feel the heavy emotional weight of this tearful plea. All the festival's wonders mean absolutely nothing to him without his parents. Section 4. Analyzing the Lost Child. Let's transition into our final analytical section. We're going to examine the rich vocabulary used in The Lost Child and discuss the deeper emotional takeaways from the text's critical reflection questions. The author uses these incredibly beautiful sensory words to build out this immersive atmosphere. Let's quickly walk through some of the vocabulary here. Hover simply means to linger or remain near a place. To hum is to sing a tune with your lips closed. A cradle is, of course, a small bed for a baby. Shuli is a very specific, beautiful type of flower, the coral jasmine. And to gaze means to look steadily for a long time. These words really ground the story in deep sensory experiences, making the sights, the sounds of the fair, and the memory of a mother's comfort feel completely real to us. So this brings us to a core, critical reflection question from the text. Why did the child reject the toys he had so desperately wanted earlier? I want you to really reflect on the psychological shift in the child here. The answer is beautifully simple, yet profound. The true value of the festival wasn't the toys or the sweetmeats or the balloons. Those were just distractions. The foundational bond of sharing those experiences with family, that is what actually mattered. Once his parents were gone, his entire sense of security evaporated and the material things lost all their appeal. It shows us that the presence of loved ones provides our true sense of security and joy. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. We've seen a grandfather fighting to maintain his dignity and independence, and a young child realizing that his parents are literally his entire world. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Whether it's a grandfather seeking respect or a child needing comfort, how well do we truly understand the different generations in our own lives? Do we actively listen to them, or do we just assume we know what's best? Thank you so much for exploring these wonderful stories and text deductions with me today. Keep asking great questions, and I'll see you in the next explainer.